Great. Alexander?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexander. I am BDM at Softprom. Softprom is a value-added IT distributor, and also we have a contract with the Senhasegura PAM. Today, we will show you a live demo of Senhasegura solution. A few words about the vendor. Senhasegura started 20 years ago when the world's 6 banks asked to solve the problem of managing privileged access to their critical infrastructure. Also, Senhasegura has a global presence in more than 18 countries in different continents. And the last one ranked second place in Gartner ranking and has 80% of Gartner Peer Insights recommendations. Also, you can count on us in POC, presentation, clarify all necessary information, pricing, etc. Then, I will not waste your time and pass the words to our vendor. I wish you a good time. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Muniz, and I'm from Senhasegura. And today I'm going to present you what should you consider when choosing a PAM solution. So without further ado, let's start. Well, first we'll take a look at why privileged access management is so important. Then we'll take a look at some PAM trends according to Gartner. I will introduce the Senhasegura PAM platform. Then we get some key takeaways, and finally, I will perform a demonstration of the solution. So, well, we're living in the privacy area. We have many countries that are passing data privacy laws, and those data privacy laws, they bring heavy sanctions to companies, to organizations that do not take care properly of data from their customers, their employees, their partners. So organization needs to be prepared to protect those data. And most cyber attacks, well, the majority of cyber attacks involve privileged credentials. 84%, well, there's some studies with 60, 70, but the majority of cyber attacks are performed through privileged credentials. And no wonder why they are called the keys to the kingdom. Access, if a malicious actor, if someone has access through privileged credentials, they can do quite some damage in the infrastructure. And the average cost of our cyber attacks, when it involves privileged credentials, is also higher. According to the cost of a data breach report, while the average cost is $4.35 million in 2022, when this cyber attack involves privileged credentials, this average cost is significantly higher. And for those here who work in the healthcare industry, you have, well, bad news. I have bad news for you. That's the industry with the highest cost of a data breach. It's more than double the average cost of a data breach. And it is important to say that those numbers are record high. So the trend is that those numbers continue to grow, and we need to be prepared for that. Well, Gartner also recognized the importance of implementing the adequate privilege management, and they have chose PAM for 2 years in a row as the #1 project in information security. And by implementing the appropriate privilege access management controls, companies, organizations can address cybersecurity needs and, of course, reduce associated risks. Those risks include, for example, the lack of visibility of the assets connected to infrastructure and their respective credentials and privilege, the lack of privilege access management, the lack of traceability, understand what are the actions that have been carried out in the environment. Well, and those risks are directly related. As I usually say that it's impossible to track what is not managed, and it is not possible to manage what is not known. So we need to understand what are the assets connected, what are the credentials, to understand the attack surface that malicious actors can explore. Well, we still don't have the top 10 security projects for 2022-23, but well, this has been increasing in the trend. So we have several projects that are associated with privileged access management, like securing remote workforce, and Senhasegura has a specific solution for that. Cloud security posture management, cloud access controls, passwordless authentications. So those are projects that are directly related to privileged access management. Well, and the market will continue to increase. According to Gartner, PAM will continue to witness increased interest and adoption among enterprises of all sizes. Regardless, if you're a small company, a big company, you will need PAM to protect your infrastructure. And this market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 10.7% from 2020 through 2024. And it will reach, well, almost $3 billion by 2024 in revenue. More market trends. So here I brought the market trends according to Gartner. So first of all, early adopters are now moving into a higher maturity phase of their PAM program, presenting vendors with significant upselling opportunities among existing customers. The second trend that I'd like to bring here is that the market growth momentum is shifting from large enterprises to mid-sized enterprises, and even small and mid-sized business, as they increasingly realize the criticality of PAM. So they're understanding that malicious attackers can and will use privileged credentials to perform their cyber attacks. Then with the adoption of remote work, mostly caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, organizations are shifting to cloud-based models. And there is also a new emphasis on the cloud, from SaaS delivery of PAM tools to expanding the functionality for cloud security in PAM tools, including like secrets management and KIM. KIM stands for Cloud Infrastructure Entitlements Management, and it's an emerging area of PAM that Senhasegura also addresses. And finally, we have just-in-time methods. Well, just-in-time is a great way to ensure cybersecurity because it reduces the attack surface that those malicious attackers can explore. It limits the window that those malicious attackers can explore. And Gartner estimates that by 2024, 50% of organizations will have implemented a just-in-time privileged access management models, which those models eliminates standing privileges. And those organizations will experience up to 80% fewer privilege breaches than those organizations that don't use just-in-time. Well, now I'd like to bring the main challenges associated with Gartner, with PAM, still according to Gartner. Well, first, PAM can be really costly, can be really time-consuming, quite complex and costly from, both a time and culture perspective. It's difficult to convince, especially because privileged access management involves not only IT personnel, IT people, it involves people from all other areas. So we need to give those people the understanding that it is important to protect those privileged credentials. Then, PAM has a lot of features. So it can be difficult for security and risk management leaders to determine which PAM features are most important to solving their organization's unique PAM risks. And we need to, one recommendation is that organizations take step by step into the PAM world. Start with the most easy use cases and then advance to the most complex ones. Finally, we have said that it is important to manage what you don't know. So we need to discover and understand what are those privileged access. So the comprehensive discovery and management of all privileged access is a significant challenge for most organizations. It's complicated by new challenges for privileged access coming from the cloud. And cloud is exposed to the internet, so it increases even more the risk for organizations. well, citizens IT exposure in infrastructure as a service and also platform as a service, and also from development environments. And finally, some PAM implementations still struggle to fully mitigate all PAM risks in a particular environment, even after several years. Now to talk about what are the capabilities that we're talking about. So we have basic capabilities that, well, all PAM vendors offer, like password vaulting, rotation, discovery and onboarding of credentials, privilege access governance, and then we advance to the more advanced capabilities. So we have just-in-time. Artificial intelligence is a great tool to tight controls, tight privilege access management controls. And then we have emerging needs, which is pretty much the protection of multi-cloud environments, secrets management. So DevOps has lots of secrets, lots of credentials that can be explored. Zero standing privileges, which pretty much is done through just-in-time, and also the CI/CD automations. Okay, we already know that implementing PAM is not that easy. So what exactly security and risk management leaders should do to succeed in their PAM programs? Well, first of all, define the unique PAM requirements, creating an inventory of all PAM use cases, understand what are those use cases, the processes that will be used by all the PAM accounts, including not only user accounts, but also machine accounts, which brings more risks because most of machine accounts are not monitored by the information security team. Then leaders have to map those use cases against the PAM functionality, do a proof of concept with the vendor to understand how those functionalities are mapped into these use cases, are fit into those use cases. And the proof of concept process is an important phase that the leaders understand how PAM vendors are adherent with those use cases. Then involve people from all areas. So we're not just talking about IT people. We're talking about security people, infrastructure people, the normal users that use privileged credentials. So, and well, especially IT and security teams, they are the most important, and they are vital for the successful of the PAM project. And finally, deploy specialized PAM tools. But you can ask me, okay, David, can I manage privilege access without PAM tools? Well, according to Gartner, you cannot. And it's not me who is saying that. Those are Gartner specialists, PAM specialists, who are saying that manage privilege access risks is virtually impossible without specialized PAM solutions. Now, getting to Senhasegura, what exactly do we do? So Senhasegura works with a before, during, and after approach, which means that Senhasegura covers everything that is done before the access, during the access, and after the access. So before the access, we need to identify the user, provision their access, understand, give the access to the user. Finally, then, when the user is doing the access, we need to monitor in real time what the user is doing, what is their behavior. And we do that by session recording, video storage, and we're going to do that. We're going to present that as one of our differentiators. The elevation of privilege, which is done by our PEDM solution, just-in-time privilege credentials as well, and also advanced capabilities for machine users. Finally, when all the actions have been performed in the environment, it's time to audit, to verify everything that has been done in the environment, looking for potential malicious actions. So we need to audit all the changes, all the settings made by those privileged users after this session is finished. And we do that by offering a full stack PAM security platform that manages the entire privilege access, the before, the during, and after. And we do that in 5 main initiatives. So we have the accountant session with our PAM core, our remote access solution for remote access. And it's important to say that Senhasegura is agentless, so we don't need to install any additional software. We have MySafe, we have just released MySafe, which is a personal vault. Senhasegura also offers PEDM solution, privilege elevation and delegation management, both for Windows and Linux. Senhasegura offers DevOps secrets management, multi-cloud. So we have our cloud IAM who manages access into cloud infrastructure, and also KIM, which I just said is our cloud infrastructure entitlements management. And we also have a digital certificate management solution. Now that we know what are the solutions that Senhasegura offers, let's go to our differentiators. The first one, Senhasegura is a full stack plug and play platform, fast deployment, simple maintenance. Senhasegura is offered as a virtual machine. So the customer only needs to deploy the virtual machine into their infrastructure. And other competitors don't offer a full stack solution. And this means that, well, the client needs to buy extra database software, operating systems, high availability technology, which of course demands from customer extra skills for each additional technology and also time. The Senhasegura approach reduces the numbers of servers that the customer requires. And we have an example here from one of our customers, a giant telecom, that when we received the proof of concept, the RFP, it demanded only 6 servers when they decided to work with us. While at the same proof of concept, one of our competitors, or one of our main competitors, would have cost them 64 additional servers. So we required, well, 10%, almost 10% of what our competitors needed. As a result, Senhasegura offers 70% less total cost of ownership and 90% faster time to value. So your organization can save resources, and of course the successful rate and the chance of success is much higher. Then our second differentiator is better resource consumption. We talked about session recording, video storage. With Senhasegura, when we analyze 1 terabyte of storage as an example, Senhasegura can deliver 7 times more video storage capacity compared to our competitors, to our main competitors. And when we talk about other competitors, this number can reach up to 2 times more video storage than one of our main competitors, which results also in lower cost of ownership with the shortest time to value. Senhasegura also offers best-in-class discovery capabilities, and that's not what I'm saying. This is Gartner saying. Gartner states that Senhasegura offers best-in-class discovery capabilities, and this is possible through our open connectors. Open connectors are not based on vendors, they're based on technology. So it's quite easy to onboard and to discover even legacy devices. That makes the company less dependent from professional services, so they can develop themselves, the connectors, or they can also download and get those connectors through our support platform. The result, well, maximum visibility. So we have said that it's impossible to manage what you don't know. So when you know what are the assets that are connected to the infrastructure, you get maximum security with the lowest deployment efforts. Senhasegura also is the only PAM vendors that offers an embedded certificate lifecycle management. Oh, you can say, oh yeah, David, but this vendor also offers certificate lifecycle management. Yes, but they are sold separately. And so you have to go and back and forth from the PAM solution to the certificate lifecycle management solution. With Senhasegura, this is offered in one single interface. So the organizations can automatically manage and renew certificates and reduce the outage by expiration. Then the next differentiator that Senhasegura offers, successful deployment rate. We have extremely satisfied customers, and the solution is fully designed to provide fast deployment. Every year, we invest time to facilitate the process and make deployment easier. Since it is, well, we have seen that it's one of the main challenges that organizations face when we're talking about privileged access. And also, according to Gartner, it's one of the highest complaints when working with a PAM vendor. Our competitors, they have a more complex deploying process. As we've said before, they require additional technologies that has to be bought separately. First, and also because they require extra technology and skills that makes, of course, the deployment harder and costlier. With this approach, Senhasegura is able to make the deployment of the solution in one day, while our competitors take weeks. And finally, we also invest our resources to develop the best-in-class usability interface to help customers accelerate their learning curve. So this means that it's easier to operate Senhasegura. It is required less training efforts from users to learn and to use our platform. And also, our system, as I said, is a platform. So all products have exactly the same interface with all functionality, and those modules are seamlessly integrated into one single solution. While I have said lots of things about our differentiators, but let's take a look what our customers say. Well, according to Gartner Peer Insights, Senhasegura has the highest recommendation rate and the highest overall score of the solution. Senhasegura has also been elected Customer's Choice for 2 times and has also been elected the best, the Customer's Choice for mid-size enterprise, according to Gartner. We are also have among the highest score for the customer experience and product capabilities. In the last Voice of the Customer report, Senhasegura was the only solution that received 5 stars and also 100 recommendation rate. Now, to the takeaways of our presentation today. Well, cyber threats are growing, and we need to be prepared. Not only enterprises, large enterprises, but mid-size and small and medium business, especially because those small and medium business usually don't have a cybersecurity area. They don't have a cybersecurity budget, so they are a favorite target of malicious actors. Privileged credentials are an important attack vector. We have seen that 84% of cyber attacks, of data breaches, are performed through privileged credentials. We have also seen that we have data privacy law that are increasing, and we have having sanctions. If you talk about GDPR, $20 million, 20 million euros in sanctions, and pretty much every country is passing data privacy laws. PAM is required to address the privileged access management problem, and it's impossible to address privileged access management without specific PAM solutions. And before choosing a PAM solution, it's important to evaluate, to map the use cases against the PAM capabilities that those vendors offer. Okay? So with that, I finish my presentation, and I will now perform the demo
Hello,
of
David.
this. Yes.
Hey,
Hey,
here am I.
João,
It
how are
feels
you?
like, hey, I'm doing just great. Hello, everyone. My name is João. I'm a sales engineer here at Senhasegura, and I
So
would like to perform a
you're in
demo
good
here for
hands.
you. Yeah.
I will stop my sharing, João, just a moment.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, I will do that. Oh, yes, stop share. Now I hand over to you, João.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, David. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's
Yes,
all
we can.
okay.
Okay. Perfect. So, how do I close that? Hello, everyone, once again. So here I have the home screen of Senhasegura, a lab environment to which we engineers use here at Senhasegura to demonstrate our product. And this is a shared environment, I must say. So I'll show you a few features that I want to show you in this environment. Then we'll move on to another one in which I'm the only one using it, which I prefer to demonstrate so that I don't have any surprises. But here it is. This is the home screen. As you can see, it has a nice, steady little interface, web interfaces. This is the portal. As David well said, it could be in the SaaS model or on premises. It doesn't matter. And your users from now on can authenticate themselves in the vault. So I have a user here. I'll authenticate myself. And the first thing I want to show you here is that it will ask for me to input the token for the MFA, that is. And Senhasegura offers natively the TOTP token, which is being asked to me now. And it also has a few integrations for MFA, such as Cisco Do, OpenID, Radius, and etc. For demoing purposes, I'd like to use this nice little extension here for my web browser. This isn't ideal because, of course, MFA, you would need a different device to authenticate yourself twice, right? This is the whole point of having MFA, but for demonstration purposes, this should be fine. So as you can see now, I'm authenticated in the Senhasegura vault. And from now on, one nice thing about this environment is that it's very populated. So you can have an idea of what it would look like in a well-distributed environment with lots of assets, right? So here we have a database, we have a AWS console, an Azure console, a web application that demonstrates how do we do the automation for CAPTCHA, for example, a Debian server, a Linux server, a lot of other web applications, and then other Linux servers, and also Windows servers, of course. So first of all, as you can see, we have a lot of different connections, and that is because a lot of what David said, which is a open type of connection that Senhasegura offers, which is based on protocol and not on vendor itself. So we're really agnostic to what kind of assets we can manage, what type of credentials of assets we can manage, or better saying, and this is heavily dependent on protocol. So we based ourselves on RDP, on SSH, on HTTP, HTTPS, and we're actually receiving now from the products team a database type of connection based on, of course, queries, right? And not only on vendors. So I would like to demonstrate for you how it's done, a simple use case of a session being conducted by a normal user. I have here my other environment to which I will connect myself right now. And I'll show you how it's done. So here I'll authenticate myself as admin. because I have already authenticated in another browser window as a normal user. And I would like to do that to show you how it's done, the different control access that we do for different users, right? So here I have all of my credentials. So I have a few other use cases here. And on this Firefox browser, I can show you since the beginning, since the homepage, we can see a few differences here. So as you can see, this user named John, it only has access to 3 credentials, and they are all for this Linux server. Meanwhile, this user admin, of course, it has access to all of my credentials, and this is access control based, right? So I'd not like all of my users to see all of my credentials. I'd like to segregate that, and I'll show you just in a few minutes how this is done. First of all, let's start a new session. So I'll start a new session on this Linux machine. And as I can see, it's as simple as clicking this start session button. I will, as you can see, I have a few different methods of connecting. One of those is the SSH connection. This is what I'm going to use now, but I still have a few other services that are available at this machine. So not only the connection to the system, but a few services that I have spinned up in the high ports of this environment. But enough small talk. As you can see here, I've required for this session to any user who tries to connect to these Linux machines in my environment to justify their session. So I'll not deny the session, but I'll ask them nicely for a justification for why you're using this environment. So in this case, I'll only type demo. I'll require a reason as well. And here I have a governance code that can be integrated with an ITSM platform that you may have on your environment. And then you can link that to a ticket to control it and have more granularity and more management overall. So I'll justify. And I'll start the session. So here we're doing an SSH session inside my web browser. And as you may imagine, this is being tunneled by a VNC type of protocol underneath the hood so that we can see it on our web browser. As you can see, I can type all of my commands the normal way I would with a SSH session. I can type, for example, TOP, and I can see all of my processes inside this target machine. And now I'll show you how an administrator would see it from the other side of the coin, right? So if I wanted to know who is conducting remote sessions on my instance of Senhasegura, I would go over here to remote sessions, and I would see that John is conducting a session from this IP with this particular credential on this device, on this port, using the protocol SSH, and as I told you, using the web proxy because he is conducting through the web. It has its own unique session ID. It has a starting point, and it does not has an ending point. That makes sense because the session hasn't ended yet. I have not prevented the purge of the session. We do not have a request, but I feel I do have a few actions here that I can execute. So first of all, I can live stream this session as an administrator or as an auditor. This will depend on your role. And I can see on real time what the user is doing. So I'll put on these two windows side by side here so that you can take a closer look at what's going on. On the right, we have the real session being conducted by John. And on the left, we have the live stream being conducted by the admin, right? So as you may imagine, everything I do on the right will be reflected on the left. I can see the memory. I can see, I don't know, list directories and etc. As you can see, it's pretty responsiveness. We have a pretty responsive interface. The administrator will be able to ask the user to hold on at any time. And as you can see, it's a little bit, it's hard to read, but it basically says that admin revoked you to interactive session. And I cannot type any comments any longer, but I can release the interaction and give back the user the control of the session. And as you may imagine, we can close this window and I can drop the session entirely, clicking on this button right here, which will, of course, ultimately terminate the user session. So this is a simple use case of a PAM solution. But as you can see, everything I've just did to you right now, I haven't particularly tested this machine, but it all worked seamlessly, all worked fine for this demoing, because we do these little things really well. So the responsiveness of the live stream, the blocking of interaction of the session, the dropping of the session, it all happened very seamlessly. But okay, what if, let's say, the system administrator would like to have access to this Linux machine, but he or she simply detests having to log in an SSH machine using the web browser, which in my case would be me. So we have a few different type of proxies so that we can enable users to use whichever client they feel most comfortable with. So we have a terminal proxy, we have a web proxy, and we also have an RDP proxy. And in the few months to come, we will be having the database proxy, as I told you. And what that enables us is basically to conduct the same session that was conducted here on the web browser, but now through the client, to the SSH client. So as you can see, I simply started this session to this device, to this Linux device. It's called Jalencastro /device/Linux. And as you can see, it's the same device as I'm looking at right here. So what it just did, it asked for a connection firstly inside our instance in Senhasegura jump server, and then from then it went to the target device directly. And how did I do that? Basically, we can provide Senhasegura a special syntax which will connect, first of all, remotely to the instance, to the Senhasegura instance. And then we will also provide the Senhasegura my username of the Senhasegura of the vault. I will provide the credential to which I would like to connect, and also to the target machine I would like to connect. All of that combined will leave me directly at the session I would like to conduct. So in this case, I'm connected as root to this target Linux machine through the Senhasegura web jump server. And now I am conducting the same, well, not the same session, but I have the same capabilities that were offered through the web browser, now through my client of choice. So as you can see, I can now conduct a TOP command, and the administrator will have the exact same features that he had when I were connected through the proxy. through the web proxy. But now, as you can see, we have this terminal proxy attribute here. I can still use the live stream feature. I can still drop the session as if it was being conducted on the web browser. Nice. So what kind of other features do we have here? We also can specify, for example, audited commands. So let's say these Linux machines, they are a little sensitive. They are they have a few services running on top of them, and they are a little sensitive to a few commands that cannot be executed inside these machines. So administrators, auditors can specify a few predefined commands that will basically can be stopped from being executed at all, or can drop out a user from its session and block this user entirely, depending on the criticality of that certain command. So I have a few examples here. I have specified clear as an audited command and passwd as an audited command. That is because PAM it's responsible for managing all of these high privilege credentials inside my servers. And I would not like users to be executing passwd inside my servers, because of course PAM now has the control over these credentials, and he's the one to rotate those passwords. So I would not like users to execute this command. So what happens here now is when I try to type in, for example, clear, this is an audited command. Command not allowed, as you can see, and it did not clear my screen, obviously. And the same goes for passwd. This command actually has dropped my session and has interrupted me because I specified as a being medium criticality command, and this should not be typed inside my any of my sessions. Okay. And this could be segregated. It could be a global type of audited command, but it could also be segregated by credentials. It could also be segregated by devices. In that way, in that sense, you can granularly control which device, which credential, which user should receive which treatment, right? Speaking of segregation, we can do this really well when we're talking about access groups. So I stated earlier for you that access groups are a way to granularly segregate the credentials to which each user sees inside of PAM. Here is at Senhasegura. And this is a cool example that I can show you right here. So we have the full access group, and we have the Linux admins to this environment. And well, this is pretty self-explanatory, but these Linux admin groups, well, it will only specify users to have access to the Linux machines, right? But this is up to the user. It can this is up to the administrator. It will choose based on this criteria to which devices, to which servers, to which web applications, to its database, etc., the users will have access to. And how do we do that? Well, we do have a few ways that we can do it. First of all, we can do it by the devices names, the product names, the usernames that have the username of the credentials that are being conducted on each device, and so on and so forth. This is really interesting because on here we can define names using regular expressions. So if I have all of my servers on my production environment is starting with PRD slash I can simply type PRD slash and asterisk, and all of these servers, whichever starts with PRD, will be englobed in this criteria, right? In this case, I simply typed in my device tag that I have specified for each Linux machine, which is Linux, and it works simply as that. And we also have these check boxes that we can fill in here that will specify by site, by device type, and by credential type, to which credentials will this group have access to. Moving on from criteria, we have a few other settings that we can specify here that will enable us to, for example, require a justification for each session. Or in this case, if the users will be able to see the password or not. This is really important, and I'll show you now why. Because as you can see, this user right here, he does not has an icon here on the right to me for seeing my password, and that is on purpose. I would not like this user to have access to my password. The whole point here is to stop interaction to the user to access the credential, the password per se. I want this interaction to end. So I'm not giving access to this specific user. But as you can see, if I close this window and go to my credentials with the admin user, you will see that he has the key little icon here. And this is what gives me access directly to my password, right? So I don't know to which one I can use here so that I don't leak my personal data. But for example, if I take a look here at my password for this Linux device, I have this little screen that first of all lets me view my password. And here, let me check on my second monitor. Okay, that's fine. On this screen, I can slide this contrast slider, and I can see my window so that any eavesdropper will not check on my password. And this is interesting. As you may have noticed, the window has closed on itself because it will actually have a timer saying that, well, this window will be closed in 28 seconds because I will not let you see the window for any period of time. I want you to check it and then close this window. I don't want anyone to see it. Here on, I can copy my password and I can spell it for something easier, right? For anybody to get a hold on this password. But as you may have noticed, this is a nice little handy feature for any user who tries to see the password. And what is interesting inside this window is that every credential inside Senhasegura has a credential policy attached to it that enables us to define how the credentials are being managed here inside Senhasegura. And I have a few examples here for you. One of these are, for example, SSH keys. SSH keys have a special policy attached to them. I have specified that they will require a high strength of password, and I'll give them, well, a certain priority. And what is interesting here is that we can specify an expiration time by days or minutes or hours or months every time someone has viewed the password. So that single event that I showed you, where I've withdrawn the password, that has a timestamp attached to it, and we can specify a time period for that password to be rotated because someone has got hold on of that password, and I don't know what that user is going to do with that password if he or she has written it down. So I can say, for example, for a single type of passwords for a single group of devices, every time someone withdraws that password, it will rotate on the next day. In a time frame of 24 hours, that password will be ordered. And as you can see, we can specify by days of the week. We can specify an expiration time for the by period. We can reuse the same password for how many days, how many months. And I also have a criteria for my password policies. Let me check on the chat window if I'm not missing any questions. Actually, I think I'm fine. And another thing I'd like to show it to you here on my access group page is the settings that we were talking about, right? So I said to you why that we can specify if the users can view a password, if they will require a reason to view that password, if they will require approval to view their passwords. And this approval, it actually specifies a hierarchy to which any organization can specify here, and it could be done on levels so that we can specify a first level of approvers, and then we can specify another level of approvers, and so on and so forth, right? This is the same to require sessions to be conducted. So I can specify if the users can start the session, if they will require a reason to start the session, or if they will require approval to start the session. So as you can see, it's pretty granular, the settings here on our access groups, which will define who can use each of my credentials to that web applications, to the network assets, and all of the important things that we're managing in the end of the day, right? And last but not least, we can do it and limitation of the access by weekdays or by hour. So I have an example. So imagine, let's say you have an MSP that manages your firewall, and you want only those people to access the firewall during the weekends because you don't want unavailability, right? So you can limit that access to the weekends only, and you will monitor everything. You will see that when they do the firewall upgrade, that they have downloaded properly the packages and not a single byte from another place, and you have everything audited and will be limited to the weekends.
Sorry for interruption. We have one question. You can see QA, or maybe I'm reading if you okay.
Yes, please.
How can we automate the one-time password? It means after each use, the password change automate to act.
So, okay. How can we automate that? We would use the credential policies. So we can specify the string of the password, as I said. We can specify at how much time do we give that person the possession of the key before we rotate that, and we can also specify the time frame. How much time will we give that credential to before we rotate after a use, for example? We can also customize that time by that time frame, right? Do you have any other questions, Marina?
At the moment, no. Maybe in next.
Yeah, but to finish up here, this is basically it for the demo. I have covered the most simple use cases here. So, and I have showed you how we do access groups, how we do audited commands. But as you may see, it is a much more complex tool to what eyes can see, right? So mainly because we had only like 35 minutes of demo, not much, right?
We have new questions, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, what about proxy terminal? I didn't saw from where you started it and how did you identify yourself to the remote machine?
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw that question. Thank you, Marina. Basically, the terminal proxy. This is interesting. As I said earlier, we have a special kind of syntax that we sent to the Senhasegura instance. It doesn't matter if it's on cloud or on premises. Normally, the syntax to SSH is you specify your credential like this. You specify like user and then the @ and then the target device, right? So we created a new syntax, which basically is the user of Senhasegura. You open brackets, you specify your desired credential, and then the @ and then you specify to which target machine you would like to connect yourself, and then the @ and then the Senhasegura instance. So this is basically an inception of SSH requests, right? And this is also true for RDP. So we can open a new RDP session through the normal RDP client, right? The Microsoft RDP client. I can specify the name of the user of the Senhasegura. I can specify to which credential I will connect myself as, and to which Windows machine here in this case. And here is my Senhasegura instance. So here you can see I'll try to connect myself to this RDP remote session, and I just received a question. So is there a password necessary? Yes, it is. In the SSH case, it was already hard-coded on my application on my mobile Xterm. But in this case, as you can see, it asks me for the admin password to the Senhasegura, right? So I have to specify, I have to authenticate myself at Senhasegura first. And then my credentials to this target machine will be in place. This is the wrong password. This is the right one. Okay, so Anton has accepted my response. So now I authenticated myself. It says now you're safe on Portuguese, and it's opening my session to my Microsoft Windows server. So other passwords, rotating the password just after use, not after a while. Okay. I don't know if I answered that question correctly. David, have you got that? Rotating the password just after the use. I don't think we provide a way to rotate the password right after each use. That would be the JIT functionality that David commented earlier. So we provision a new credential every time a user wants to to connect itself to any target machine. So we do it just for the moment he or she would like to connect, and then we exclude that whole credential. That would be the use case I assume you're trying to refer to.
I think
Which
we
component?
also need to add that Senhasegura has different criteria for rotating the password. I think this is also, that could be also the question. When Senhasegura can change the question, or the password. So Senhasegura can change the password after a specific date, in specific times, or after each use as well. So the administrator can configure when the password will be changed.
Yep. Yeah, you're totally right. So moving on to the next questions, we have few minutes here to answer. So which components required on-premise servers? This is a good one. So as David said, we offer all-in-one appliance, all-in-one crypto appliance. It could be done virtually, it could be done physically, but we do provide it all under one appliance. So databases, the web server, the index, all of that is inside one single appliance. How much of the setup is SaaS? Well, we do have a module for third-party access, which is always on SaaS, the domain access, but all of the other offerings, all of the other modules that David mentioned, the certificate module, the cloud AIM, all of that can be offered either on SaaS or on-prem. Anton has asked me, what about domain credentials? Really quickly, I know I'm out of time here, but domain credentials will be handled in a different fashion here. So I have a domain user right here. It's administrator, and it has its domain, mylab.cloud. And I have a little icon here, which is this arrow sign, and it shows me where can I connect to with this single credential. So in this lab environment, I have only one machine belonging to this domain, but this is a domain credential that can be used on many devices inside the domain. And to rotate those domain credentials, it's the same as local credentials. It will be handled the same way to Senhasegura. Do you allow an integration with IGA solution like SailPoint or Savient? Actually, I'm not aware of these solutions, but I have heard of them before. I would have to take a look on that. Do you have this answer, David?
Yes, Senhasegura integrates natively with SailPoint. About our solutions, Senhasegura integrates through APIs. So it's really easy to integrate Senhasegura with any other solution. Senhasegura integrates with IGA solutions, with ITSM solutions, CMDB. So when we talk about ITSM solutions, what we can do, we can integrate, and Senhasegura can validate the ticket number before a specific remote session. So there's a field that we can specify the ticket number. So Senhasegura goes to the ITSM solution, verify if that's a valid number, and returns it back. But anyway, in any case, we can integrate through our APIs to each any solution that support REST APIs.
Yeah, I think that was all. Thank you very much, David, for your answer. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's all. Colleagues, thank you very much for attention.